The Eagles strike. The air in the dojo crackled with anticipation. Ethan, all lean muscle and focused energy, stood opposite a towering, padded dummy. He gestured for silence with a calloused hand. "All right, everyone, watch closely. This is a response to a surprise knife attack from the front. Speed and aggression are key." He barely finished the sentence before he launched into motion. A blur of limbs, a guttural yell, and the dummy flew backward, landing with a resounding thud against the wall. Ethan stood, breathing evenly, the knife, a training replica, now clutched securely in his hand. The class erupted in applause. Again, someone shouted from the back. Ethan grinned, a flash of white teeth against his tanned skin. All right, settle down. Let's break it down step by step." He spent the next 20 minutes dissecting the move, correcting stances, and emphasizing the importance of situational awareness. Sweat glistened on his forehead as he moved amongst the students, offering individual instruction. "He's incredible, isn't he?" Maya whispered to Ben, adjusting her gloves. "I mean, I knew Krav Maga was effective, but seeing him, it's a whole different level." Ben nodded, flexing his arm. "Yeah, and he's only, 20? Imagine where he'll be in 10 years. He paused. "My reflexes have definitely improved since I started. I almost caught that falling mug the other day." Maya laughed. "Baby steps. But seriously, I feel so much more confident walking home alone at night now." As Ethan demonstrated a disarming technique, a hesitant figure appeared in the doorway. Sarah stood just inside, her hands clasped nervously in front of her. She wore a simple blue dress, a stark contrast to the athletic wear of the other students. The harsh fluorescent light seemed to amplify the worry etched on her face. Ethan, mid-explanation, caught her eye. He faltered for a moment, a flicker of surprise crossing his features before he quickly regained his composure. "All right, everyone," he announced, his voice a touch huskier than usual. "Take a 5-minute break. Water bottles, towel off." The class began to disperse, a low hum of conversation filling the space. Sarah remained rooted to the spot, her gaze fixed on Ethan. He walked towards her, a slight unease in his stride. The rhythmic thud of sparring pads faded into the background, replaced by the rapid beat of her own heart. She felt like a trespasser, an intruder in this world of controlled aggression and honed reflexes. What had possessed her to come here? The promise of seeing him again, that was it. The magnetic pull she couldn't explain, couldn't resist. He stopped a few feet away, the scent of sweat and something subtly masculine filling her senses. "Sarah? What are you doing here?" His voice was soft, a stark contrast to the commanding tone he used during the lesson. A new beginning. The door creaked open, disrupting the rhythmic thud of punches hitting the heavy bags. Ethan paused, wiping sweat from his brow. A woman stood hesitantly in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the hallway light. He recognized her immediately, Mrs. Bellwether, from next door. "But here." "Sorry to interrupt," she said, her voice a little breathy. I'm Sarah. I believe I signed up for your class." Ethan gestured towards the open space on the mats. "Welcome. Ethan, by the way." He gave a short bow. "We're just warming up. Join in when you're ready." Sarah nodded, her gaze sweeping over the other students, a mix of ages and builds, each absorbed in their own practice. She quickly changed into a fresh pair of sneakers she had in her bag. Ethan noticed the hesitant way she moved, a contrast to the confident air she usually projected in the hallway. Later, as they partnered for basic strikes, Ethan could feel her apprehension. Her jabs were weak, her guard a little too low. "Relax your shoulders," he instructed gently. "Power comes from the core, not from tension." Sarah took a deep breath, her brow furrowed in concentration. I know. It's just, new." He nodded, understanding. "Anything I can help you with?" She hesitated, then met his gaze. I want to feel safer. Walking home from work at night, you know. The streetlights are out on Elm Street, and there's been some trouble lately. Her voice was low, almost a whisper. Ethan felt a pang of something he couldn't quite name. He knew Elm Street. He'd walked it himself countless times. I understand, he said softly. We'll get you there. He watched her as she practiced her kicks against a padded shield held by another student. She wasn't naturally gifted, her movements were awkward, her balance a little off. But there was a grit to her expression, a fierce determination in her eyes that intrigued him. She wasn't here for a workout, she was here for something more. Each missed kick, each stumble, seemed to fuel her resolve. The fluorescent lights glinted off the faint sheen of sweat on her forehead as she repeatedly practiced the same block and counterattack, her face a mask of fierce concentration. Ethan found himself admiring her tenacity, a quiet strength he hadn't noticed before. This wasn't just Mrs. Bellwether, his neighbor. This was Sarah, someone fighting for her own peace of mind. Unexpected connection. You looked a little lost during that disarm, Ethan said, after the last student had filed out of the dojo. Sarah was gathering her things, brow furrowed as she replayed the technique in her head. If you have a few minutes, I could show you again, slower. Sarah hesitated, glancing at the clock. I don't want to impose. No imposition at all. I'm here for another hour anyway, catching up on paperwork. He gestured towards the mats. Come on, let's break it down. He guided her through the sequence, his hands gently correcting her grip. The warmth of his touch sent a jolt through her, a surprising and not entirely unwelcome sensation. This close, she noticed the faint scent of sandalwood clinging to his skin, a subtle contrast to the sweat and exertion of the class. Okay, now try it, he said, stepping back. She went through the motions, this time with a newfound confidence. It wasn't perfect, but it was a vast improvement. Wow, she said, surprised. That actually felt right. See? You've got it, Ethan grinned. He reached for a water bottle. So, Mrs. Davis, how are you finding the class so far? The name hung in the air. Sarah stiffened, her eyes widening slightly. You know my son. Ethan's eyes widened in turn. Timmy. Timmy Davis is your son. He's in my after-school program. He talks about you all the time. A wave of emotion washed over Sarah, embarrassment, relief, and something akin to hope. He's a good kid, Ethan continued, a genuine fondness in his voice. He was telling me just yesterday how much happier you seem since you started Krav Maga. Sarah felt her cheeks flush. She hadn't realized Timmy had noticed. It's been good for me, she admitted, fiddling with the strap of her gym bag. I feel stronger, more confident. Ethan smiled, a warm, unguarded smile that reached his eyes. That's what it's all about. He paused, then added, Timmy's right, you do seem happier. Park practices and coffee talks. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the park as Ethan patiently guided Sarah through a series of Krav Maga drills. He demonstrated the proper stance for a front kick, the crisp air carrying the rhythmic whoosh of his leg slicing through the air. Sarah, a determined glint in her eyes, mirrored his movements, her brow furrowed in concentration. She wasn't naturally athletic, but she possessed an eagerness that made up for any lack of experience. Okay, now try it with a little more power, Ethan instructed, adjusting her hip alignment. Imagine you're aiming for their solar plexus. Sarah took a deep breath, visualizing the imaginary attacker. She unleashed the kick, a grunt escaping her lips as she put her full weight behind it. Ethan nodded, impressed. Much better. You're a fast learner, Sarah. A genuine smile lit up her face. Thank you, Ethan. I still feel a little clumsy, but I'm enjoying it. After an hour of practice, sweat glistened on their foreheads. They packed up their gear and headed towards a nearby coffee shop, the aroma of roasted beans drawing them in. Inside, they settled at a small table by the window, the gentle chatter of other patrons creating a comfortable ambience. "So," Ethan began, stirring sugar into his latte, "what made you decide to take up Krav Maga?" Sarah chuckled, taking a sip of her cappuccino. "Besides the fact that my daughter practically forced me, I've always admired people who can defend themselves. And honestly, it's a good workout." She paused, her gaze drifting out the window. "Plus, I've been feeling a little vulnerable lately. Like I need to take control of something." Ethan sensed a deeper story beneath her words. "Is everything okay?" Sarah hesitated, then sighed. "It's a long story. Let's just say, life throws curveballs sometimes." She changed the subject, a playful glint returning to her eyes. "Now, tell me about you. How did a young guy like you become a Krav Maga instructor?" Ethan laughed, launching into the story of his early training, his passion for the discipline evident in his animated gestures. He described his dedication, the discipline, the feeling of empowerment it gave him. Sarah listened intently, her laughter echoing his at the funny parts. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow through the window, an undeniable connection had formed between them. It was more than just teacher and student, it was a burgeoning friendship, built on shared experiences and genuine curiosity. When Ethan walked Sarah to her door, a comfortable silence enveloped them. "Thank you, Ethan," Sarah said, her voice soft. "For the lesson, and the coffee. It was nice." "Anytime, Sarah," Ethan replied, his heart beating a little faster than usual. "I'll see you at the park next week." "Definitely," she said, smiling. As she turned to enter her house, Ethan felt a pull, a silent invitation that lingered in the air. He lingered a moment longer, a sense of anticipation bubbling within him. The misunderstanding. The heavy scent of disinfectant usually faded into the background of the dojo, but today it felt sharp, almost acrid in Sarah's nostrils. She was stretching, trying to ignore the lingering heat in her cheeks. Ethan was demonstrating a disarming technique with practiced ease, his movements fluid and powerful. She usually found his focus mesmerizing, but today, her gaze kept darting away. "You two make a really cute couple," a voice chirped from behind her. Sarah whipped around. It was Maya, a bubbly girl from the advanced class, her ponytail bouncing as she grinned. Ethan hadn't heard, he was still absorbed in showing how to twist free from a chokehold. "Oh," Sarah stammered, her face flaming. We're not, we're just." She trailed off, a jumble of incoherent words dying in her throat. Maya's grin widened. "Whatever you say. But the way he looks at you. Total hard eyes." She winked and bounced away to join the drill line. Sarah's stomach churned. Hard eyes? Was it that obvious? Had everyone noticed? She glanced at Ethan, who was now offering pointers to a struggling student, his brow furrowed in concentration. He seemed utterly oblivious. The rest of the lesson stretched on, each minute an eternity. Sarah felt painfully aware of Ethan's presence, of his occasional glances in her direction. Every time he offered her a correction or a word of encouragement, she felt a fresh wave of self-consciousness wash over her. She found herself stumbling over basic moves, her usually sharp reflexes dulled by a sudden, overwhelming awkwardness. As soon as the class ended, Sarah practically bolted for the changing rooms, avoiding Ethan's attempt to catch her attention. "Hey, Sarah," he started, but she just mumbled something about needing to rush home and disappeared behind the door. She lingered in the changing room until the sounds of chatter had subsided, then slipped out and hurried towards the exit. She spotted Ethan near the water cooler, talking to Maya. He looked up as she passed, a questioning look on his face. Sarah forced a smile, offered a quick wave, and fled out the door into the cool evening air. The walk home felt longer than usual. Sarah replayed Maya's words in her head, each repetition intensifying her discomfort. She liked Ethan, she couldn't deny that, but the thought of them as a couple felt complicated. Too fast. Too public. She wasn't ready for that. The innocent joy she had felt during their lessons had been tainted by a sudden, unwanted spotlight. Silent treatment. The first hint was the lack of a chirped "Morning, Ethan," when he opened his door. Usually, Sarah was already outside, tending to her absurd collection of potted herbs, sunshine glinting off her auburn hair. Today, the landing was deserted, save for a lone, forgotten watering can. He shrugged it off, attributing it to a late start or perhaps a forgotten errand. But at the community gym, where they usually bantered during warm-ups, Sarah kept her eyes fixed on the treadmill screen. Her responses to his cheerful greetings were clipped, almost curt. During the Krav Maga lesson itself, she partnered with Miguel, pointedly avoiding eye contact with Ethan. Her movements were sharp, precise, but lacked the playful energy he'd come to associate with her. The air crackled with a tension he couldn't decipher. Had he said something wrong? Done something to offend her? He replayed their last conversation in his head, searching for a hidden barb, a misinterpreted glance. They'd talked about her mother's upcoming visit, about the ridiculousness of parking tickets, and then nothing. He caught her gaze once, across the sweaty mats, a fleeting moment of cool blue before she flicked it away, focusing with laser intensity on Miguel's demonstration. It felt like a slap. After the lesson, as he gathered his gear, he saw her slip out, head down, disappearing into the throng of departing students. No goodbye. No lingering smile. Just, gone. The weight room suddenly felt colder, the clanging of weights amplified, mocking his confusion. He usually thrived on the endorphin rush after a good workout, but now, a hollow ache settled in his chest. Had he imagined it all? The easy laughter, the shared glances, the comfortable silences. Had he misread the signals, projecting his own hopes onto a friendly neighbor? The thought stung. He felt exposed, foolish. He usually walked home energized, planning his next lesson, thinking about new techniques. Tonight, the pavement felt heavy beneath his feet. The setting sun cast long, distorted shadows, mirroring the unease that coiled in his stomach. Sarah's silence was a heavy, suffocating blanket, smothering the spark that had ignited between them. He was left wondering if he'd inadvertently extinguished it before it even had a chance to burn. A son's encouragement. Timmy crunched loudly on his apple, the sound amplified in the otherwise silent kitchen. His mom, Sarah, was at the counter, listlessly stirring a spoon through a bowl of cereal she hadn't touched. The fluorescent light hummed overhead, casting a sickly pallor on her face. He'd seen that look before, the one that meant she was lost somewhere far away, probably replaying a conversation or a missed opportunity in her head. "Mom?" he asked tentatively, trying to catch her eye. She jumped, the spoon clattering against the ceramic. "Oh, Timmy, you scared me." "What is it, sweetie?" "Nothing," he mumbled, taking another bite of his apple. "Just, you okay?" She sighed, a puff of air that barely ruffled the wisps of hair escaping her ponytail. "Fine. Just, tired." He didn't believe her. Timmy knew the difference between tired and sad. And right now, his mom was radiating sadness like heat from a stovetop. He finished his apple and tossed the core in the trash. "Ethan's cool," he said, watching her reaction. Sarah's shoulders tightened almost imperceptibly. "He seems nice," she replied, her voice carefully neutral. Timmy walked over to the counter and leaned against it, mirroring her position. "You should talk to him, Mom." Her eyebrows shot up. "Talk to him? About what?" "About stuff. I don't know. You guys seem to be avoiding each other. It's weird." He wrinkled his nose for emphasis. "He's probably just as confused as you are." Sarah ran a hand through her hair, leaving it even more disheveled. "Timmy, this isn't." She trailed off, searching for the right words. "Isn't what?" "Isn't happening." Isn't allowed? Timmy challenged gently. Mom, you deserve to be happy. And Ethan. He's good people. He helped me with that math problem yesterday, even though he was probably busy. He's patient. He paused, gathering his courage. And, Mom. He really likes you. I can tell. He blushed slightly, suddenly feeling like he was revealing a huge secret. Like, really likes you. Sarah stared at him, her mouth slightly open. He does. Timmy nodded, relief flooding through him. Maybe, just maybe, he could nudge things in the right direction. Yeah. He talks about you all the time. How strong you are. How you pick up the moves so fast. Stuff like that. He grinned. Go talk to him, Mom. What have you got to lose? Farmer's Market Confession. The air vibrated with the mingled scents of sun-warmed stone fruit and yeasty goodness. Ethan's gaze swept across the farmer's market, a kaleidoscope of hues blurring against the weekend throngs. He located Sarah near the far end, meticulously arranging sunflowers in a tin pail. A frown creased her brow, an unexpected shadow on the backdrop of golden petals. His pulse quickened as he approached. Those are stunning, he remarked, nodding towards the blooms. Sarah jumped, color blooming on her cheeks. Ethan. I didn't realize you were here. She averted her eyes, fussing with a stray leaf. I'm a regular, he replied. Hoping to catch you. I wanted to talk things over. A sigh escaped her lips, barely audible over the market's cheerful cacophony. I'm not sure that's wise. Why not? He closed the distance, inhaling her perfume, a delicate lavender subtly underscored by something floral he couldn't quite define. Sarah finally met his gaze, her eyes revealing a vulnerability that resonated deep within him. Ethan, people are gossiping. I've overheard murmurs at the supermarket, seen knowing looks at the book club. They deem it unseemly. He scowled. What others think is irrelevant. It's not to me, she whispered. I value the opinions of my friends, my family, my daughter. 2 decades, Ethan. That's a chasm. I don't want to become fodder for gossip, a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones. He reached for her hand, his fingers gently enveloping hers. Her skin was soft, yet bore the faint traces of her gardening passion. Look at me, he urged, his tone firm yet tender. I don't register an age gap, Sarah. I see you. Someone bright, compassionate, and gorgeous. Someone who elicits my laughter and challenges me to grow. If anyone else fails to recognize that, it's their shortcoming. Her eyes searched his face, seeking any flicker of insincerity. But what of the future? When I'm older, and you're still. He interrupted, his grip tightening. We'll bridge those divides when we reach them. For now, I'm here, you're here, and I yearn to be with you. That's all that holds weight. A hesitant smile played on her lips, diminishing the anxiety in her expression. Easy words, she murmured, though a lightness now colored her tone. Easy because they're honest, he countered, mirroring her smile. Now, shall we procure some of those peaches, and I'll craft a cobbler for us tonight? A new family. Sarah stared at her reflection, the fluorescent lights of the bathroom casting harsh shadows. What was she so afraid of? Whispers? Judgment? Timmy deserved happiness, and so did she. And Ethan. Ethan had shown her a kindness and understanding she hadn't known existed. She took a deep breath, smoothing down her skirt. Enough. She found Ethan teaching Timmy a wrist escape. Timmy was giggling, clearly enjoying himself. The sight warmed Sarah from the inside out. Hey, she said, her voice a little shaky. Ethan straightened, his eyes meeting hers. Hey yourself. Everything all right? Sarah nodded, then shook her head. No. Not really. I like you, Ethan. A lot. And I'm tired of being scared. The air crackled with a sudden, charged silence. Ethan's expression softened, a slow smile spreading across his face. He stepped closer, closing the distance between them. I like you too, Sarah. More than you know. He cupped her cheek, his thumb gently tracing her jawline. Can I kiss you? She didn't answer, just leaned in, closing her eyes. His lips were warm and soft, a tentative pressure that quickly deepened. It was a kiss filled with promise, with hope, with the quiet understanding that had been building between them. When they finally broke apart, breathless, Timmy was standing there, beaming. Does this mean? Sarah knelt down, pulling him into a hug. It means maybe, just maybe, we're going to be a family, Timmy. Timmy launched himself at Ethan, wrapping his arms around his legs. Yes. This is the best day ever. Ethan ruffled Timmy's hair, his gaze meeting Sarah's over the boy's head. Me too, buddy. Me too. Life changed after that. Not overnight, but in subtle, beautiful ways. Ethan started incorporating kids' self-defense classes into his curriculum, and Timmy became his most enthusiastic student. Sarah helped out where she could, organizing schedules and cheering from the sidelines. Evenings were spent playing board games, watching movies, and simply being together. One Saturday morning, Sarah woke to the smell of pancakes. She found Ethan in the kitchen, flipping flapjacks while Timmy, wearing an oversized apron, carefully arranged blueberries on each one. Laughter filled the air, a melody of shared joy. Sarah leaned against the doorway, a warmth spreading through her that had nothing to do with the heat from the stove. She had found a home, a love, a family she never thought possible. And it was perfect.